Well, they've gone and done it. Researchers in China say they've developed a process to clone pigs entirely through the use of robots, a development that may help the world's largest pork consumers reduce its reliance on imported breeding pigs. So this comes out of the South China Morning Post, published June 2nd, 2022. It says, in March, a surrogate mother gave birth to 7 cloned piglets at the College of Artificial Intelligence at Nankai University in Tianjin. Each step of the cloning process was automated, and no human operation was involved, said a member of the team. The success rate of cloning has increased without human use. If it goes well, an automated system, like a little kit, could be developed to free up scientists from the labor-intensive, time-consuming manual cloning, says Pan Denki, a former researcher with the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences, who helped produce China's first cloned pig in 2005. It says the robotic technique has a higher chance of success than manual cloning. And in 2017, the Nankai University group produced the world's first piglets to be cloned using robots. Although Lui said some parts of the process, including the removal of the egg cell's nucleus, still had to be done by hand. Since 2017, the team has improved their control algorithms and can now do this automatically. A peer-reviewed paper will be coming soon in the Journal of Engineering, not in agriculture, in engineering, to report the technical details. Our AI-powered system can calculate the strain within a cell and direct the robot to use minimal force to complete the cloning process, which reduces the cell damage caused by human hands. Okay. Pan says that the robotic cloning technique, as well as the broader science of micromanipulation of cells, genetic engineering, could have a wide range of applications in animal husbandry, including assisted reproduction and selective breeding, and one step more into genetic engineering of humans, which we know that's where it's going. And he also adds that he looks forward to the commercialization of robotic cloning, which will undoubtedly have major, profound influences on the industries and the lives of the general public. So that's interesting. There are already a lot of issues potentially with cloning, not the least of which, speaking of pigs, or you could use any animal in this situation, is this idea that you have now a copy of an individual. You have the animal equivalent of a monocrop. So should you have a disease come through, all individuals are susceptible because they haven't actually been faced with disease and had that ability to actually build up defenses. It's like the Red Queen theory. Immune systems and diseases are always in an ebb and flow. A virus comes in, your body fights it off, builds the antibodies against it, and records that information so in the future it can fight it off. In the meantime, the viruses get defeated, but some of them mutate and they change and they're slightly different, and it's just back and forth all the time. Well, once you've cloned something, you've basically taken those cells, say from an adult, you've got some cells and you've cloned it and you've grown some baby pigs. Well, those baby pigs haven't adapted. They only have the adaptations that were had from the original source. So there's no real new growth going on. So they're highly susceptible to anything coming through, any new variant, which, if nature has been any example, nature is in continual evolution. It never stops. So in some ways, cloning is like this idea that we can just take a snapshot of what we have today and just replicate it without the cumbersome work of natural propagation. Now, there's all kinds of ethical, moral issues that to be considered with cloning, and I haven't explored them all, and I don't plan to explore them today because it's a big topic. I guess really one of the bigger issues that I find kind of unnerving is now we're leveraging artificial intelligence and robots and removing humans from the equation of breeding animals. This just seems like a super bad idea. It feels like it's opening up a Pandora's box. In 1984, there were test tubes that you'd only manipulate a certain gene along the way to get what you would desire for the organism in the end, for the human that was coming out. And Pigs are not that far. Once you start cloning animals, and once people start to get used to that, humans are the next step, and it opens up a whole nother can of conversation. So I've said this before, I feel that we're entering an era, I don't think there's any going back, right? It feels like we're just barreling ahead and embracing potential for artificial intelligence and robots and unnatural means of sustaining our population. And it brings up that great question too, can we sustain ourselves as we are now? But it brings up the whole natural question as well. It wasn't an agricultural school that is creating this. It's the College of Artificial Intelligence at Nankai University in Tijian. The College of Artificial Intelligence. That's what they're doing, is developing and deepening artificial intelligence. And there's already a whole host. It's ubiquitous in our life right now. It's everywhere. But how much of it do we want in our lives? And I feel that there's a very real sense that regular people don't have an option to opt out. I think at the rate that we are evolving our technology and accepting things at face value without giving time for consideration and hashing out all the issues, it has a higher potential for going south. There are a lot of things I don't agree with the pig industry, especially raising animals in a mass confinement scenario. And China is probably one of the worst abusers of this out there. Not that the US is much better, but there's definitely less animal welfare standards when you get into those large multi-story, multi-building warehouses where they raise pigs. It's massively inhumane. At the end of the day, even if they go through with this and produce cloned pigs on a grand scale, those pigs are still going to wind up in a factory-confined operation where they're basically living in a warehouse in shitty conditions for their whole life. They're basically in a prison. They're almost coddled for their whole life to fit into a mold, right? The factory farming mold. Well, think of it like this, right? So you've got pigs that through breeding for these factory farms, they've got them so where they're living and only alive because they're kept alive with antibiotics. They're fed a massively regulated meal. They have artificial lights. They live on metal slatted floors. The environment 100% is engineered to be perfect, so that these animals don't have to do anything other than just be born, grow, and die. Slaves in a fucking building. It's pretty well known. You take a lot of these, even in the US, of our largest factory farms, you take a pig from there and you put it back out in nature, and they're going to suffer and they're going to have a hard time because they've become too soft, right? They're no longer hardy individuals. And a pig is one of the hardiest individuals you can come across. It is rugged beyond, you can't kill them. You can't stop them. You ever see pigs in the wild? They procreate and they take over. And so this idea, so you've got pigs that are in this warehouse, this factory confinement, and then you take them out of there and put them in nature, and they can't survive because they've been deconditioned for survival. And so now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and clone them. We're going to leverage artificial intelligence and robots and take that human element out of the equation. So we're not even swine herds anymore. We're not even shepherds. We're not even working with our animals and nature hand in hand. They're just an inanimate object that we can just clone because they're just a packet of genes and a packet of cells, and we'll just propagate them and use them as will because we have dominion over everything. Is that the answer? It feels like a very shitty and immoral situation. It brings up a lot of questions that I think we should be considering, especially regarding what our role is with animals and the environment. That's kind of the trifecta of everything. Those relationships are give and take. And so we need to be there working with the animals. And this idea that now our animals are grown in a lab and they are highly susceptible to disease, highly susceptible to diseases and outbreaks, health problems, right? If you get in one, they can spread through them all. And they just become an object of utilitarianism, right? All kind of morals and welfare just seem to get pushed to the side in the name of prosperity and propagation. I don't know. You know, maybe there are controls in place where like AI can't get out of the box, but that just seems like a pipe dream and unrealistic. So it's interesting. Anyway, I'm not yet comfortable with cloning. I have some more research to do on it, but the generalized whole entire realm of genetic engineering, I have a lot of issues with. And this is definitely one of those, especially looking at the evolution of both artificial intelligence, which is its own can of worms, merging with genetic engineering, which is its own cans of worms. I just fail to see the benefits and the positives. Maybe there are some. I'd like to know what they are, so we can explore this a little more. But intuitively, it just seems as though we're trying too hard. We're coming up with solutions for problems we don't have. Maybe I'm not asking the correct questions. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, because I feel like I have a lot of thoughts that are kind of going off left and right, and I'm not staying very well on track. And we're going to explore some of this stuff more. Hopefully I can get some guests on and we can talk about this and make some educated choices about the kind of future that we want to have. And that's it. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.